Live NFL trivia every Tuesday night on Twitch at 9 p.m. Eastern. Come show off your football knowledge and have a chance to win cash prizes. Check the link in the description to find out more. And now, on with our feature presentation. Doubling down at running back when you can only play one at a time is somewhat of an unconventional strategy, but we've seen it before. The Buccaneers did it in 2020 when drafting Keyshawn Vaughn and Raymond Calais. The Bengals did it in 2019 with Travion Williams and Rodney Anderson. The Bears did it in 2019 as well with David Montgomery and Kareth White. There's tons of other examples, but doubling down at running back isn't too far out of the ordinary, and one team usually does it each year. But what about tripling down? What about drafting 3 players at the same position? What about completely revamping the positional unit from the ground up, and doing it with pretty high draft capital? Well, in 1998, that's exactly what the New England Patriots did. That year, the Patriots spent not 1, not 2, but 3 draft picks on running backs, completely overhauling their unit. And the end result? Let's just say it serves as a cautionary tale as to why this strategy might not work. This is the story behind the time that the Patriots spent 3 draft picks on running backs. To understand why the Patriots drafted 3 running backs in 1998 and tripled up at the position, we need some context as to how the Patriots were looking heading into that 1998 NFL Draft. In 1997, the New England Patriots were in somewhat of a transitional year. After making the Super Bowl the year before, head coach Bill Parcells left the team to join the New York Jets, which will become incredibly important for our story later on. The Patriots were still good in 1997, going 10-6 and winning the AFC East, but they were doing it in spite of their rushing attack. Out of the 30 teams in the NFL, New England ranked 22nd in yards per carry, 26th in rushing yards, and 28th in rushing touchdowns. And this problem amplified itself toward the end of the season. Over the final 3 regular season games, New England averaged just 48 yards per game on the ground. They failed to crack the 100-yard mark in each of their final 6 games. And in the divisional round against the Pittsburgh Steelers, they lost 7-6 in a game where they just could not run the ball. New England had just 36 rushing yards on 19 carries, averaging 1.8 yards per attempt. In 1997, excluding quarterbacks and wide receivers on trick plays and whatnot, there were 6 players on the Patriots who had at least 1 rushing attempt. You had Curtis Martin leading the way, and we'll get way more in-depth with him later on in our story. Behind him, you had Mario Greer, Derek Cullors, Dave Meggett, Keith Byers, and Sam Gash. Well, during the offseason, the running back room was already starting to thin a bit. Gash left the team in free agency to sign a 3-year contract with the Buffalo Bills, where he would eventually become a 2-time Pro Bowl fullback. Byers, who was going to be 35 years old during the 1998 campaign, left in free agency to join Parcells on the Jets. That's 2 down. Then you've got Dave Meggett. He wasn't really known for his running ability, but rather was known for being one of the best returners and specialists in NFL history. During the 1996 season, he made the Pro Bowl for his efforts. However, by this point in 1998, the Patriots and him were on rocky grounds. He was on the wrong side of 30 and was undergoing foot surgery, which on its own is concerning since he was coming off of a career worst year in yards and yards per carry. While in Toronto, he was arrested for sexual assault and robbery. This would unfortunately be the least of his legal concerns down the road. And he was in the middle of a salary dispute with the team as well. While Meggett was still on the roster by the time the draft rolled around, the writing was on the wall, and he would be released shortly after. Now we've got a running back and a fullback room that was down to just 3 players who got a touch in 1997. While they signed Bears fullback Tony Carter in free agency, it was still a pretty thin room. And it was about to get a whole lot thinner. When the Patriots drafted Curtis Martin in the 3rd round of the 1995 NFL Draft, he immediately became one of the top players in the league. As a rookie, he had 1,487 rushing yards and 14 rushing touchdowns, ranking 3rd in both of these categories while receiving Pro Bowl and AP Offensive Rookie of the Year honors. He made the Pro Bowl again in 1996, and in 1997, still finished inside the top 10 of the league in rushing yards. When you've got 4,700 yards from scrimmage and 37 touchdowns in your first 3 years in the league, you're clearly doing something right. The man who drafted Martin was Bill Parcells, and when Parcells went to the Jets in 1997, he took over a team that was atrocious in that department. What Parcells did in his first year taking the Jets from 1-15 to 9-7 with a washed-up Neil O'Donnell and Glenn Foley at quarterback is one of the greatest coaching jobs in the history of the sport, because that team was severely lacking in talent, especially when it came to running the football. New York averaged just 3.4 yards per carry, which was 28th in the league. They ranked 25th in rushing yards as well. For a coach that had seen his greatest successes come with strong runners like Joe Morris, Curtis Martin, and Otis Anderson, the Jets' inability to run the ball frustrated Parcells. Fortunately for Parcells, there was a way for the Jets to get Martin. Without going into too much detail, Martin was a restricted free agent. New England offered him a 6-year deal worth $12 million, which Martin declined. He felt that this was a significant underpay, especially since Drew Bledsoe signed a 6-year deal worth $42 million a year before, and had a signing bonus alone that was worth $12 million. The Jets pounced on this, and offered him a 6-year deal worth $36 million, making it almost impossible for the Patriots to match the deal. Martin signed, and the Patriots were awarded a first and a third round pick after the Pats complained that the contract's poison pill clause violated league rules. Regardless, the Patriots now had 2 players left from their running back room last year. Derek Hullers and Mario Greer combined for 176 yards rushing on 3.2 yards per carry and 1 touchdown. Their running back room was absurdly thin, and with it, the Pats did something almost unprecedented in the 7-round draft era. They tripled down at the position. With one of their first-round picks, they chose Georgia running back Robert Edwards. With one of their third-round picks, they chose Michigan running back Chris Floyd. And with their 6th-round pick, they chose Southern Miss running back Harold Shaw. The Pats were truly revamping their running back unit and starting from scratch. Unfortunately for New England, it didn't quite work out as they intended. Let's start with Harold Shaw. He was pretty ineffective in his 3 seasons with the team, picking up just 35 rushing yards on 1.9 yards per carry, never finding the end zone. And Chris Floyd, despite being a 3rd-round pick, was even worse. He had just 33 rushing yards for the Patriots, and finished the 2000 season with negative rushing yards. I was 3 years old in 2000. I had more rushing yards that year than Chris Floyd. He also never found the end zone in his career. This tripling down strategy might have looked interesting on paper, but it resulted in nothing whatsoever happening at the NFL level. That takes us to Robert Edwards, the team's 1st-round pick. He was supposed to be the replacement to Martin, and early on, he absolutely looked the part. As a rookie, he had 1,115 yards and 9 touchdowns, which ranked 5th in the entire league. He scored rushing touchdowns in each of his first 6 games. He had a game against the Rams where he had 196 rushing yards. Edwards was a stud during that first year, and was so good that he was invited to participate in a flag football game on the sand during the week of the Pro Bowl. That's when tragedy struck. I'm not going to show you what happened because it's pretty graphic, and there's video out there of it if you're interested or morbidly curious, but Edwards blew out his knee. The fact that his leg wasn't amputated is a minor miracle. The fact that he actually played football again in the NFL in 2002 is a miracle. However, he never played another game for the Patriots after that 1998 season, because of one of the most unfortunate injuries of all time. So how did the tripling down strategy work? Terribly. The main guy, through no fault of his own, only lasted 1 season with the team. The other 2 guys failed to score a touchdown and had a combined 68 rushing yards. Considering that the Patriots had 2 picks in each of the first 3 rounds, that 1998 draft class was incredibly disappointing, and the 3 running back plan was probably the low light. But I will give the plan this. Even though it was born almost out of necessity, it was unique, and I'm not sure we're ever going to see anything like this ever again. What the Patriots did in 1998 was the equivalent of throwing a ton of stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. We're going to draft as many running backs as possible, and hope that 1 or 2 of them turn out to be the real deal. In theory, even though you're sacrificing the opportunity to improve other positions with something like this, it's a cool concept. In actuality, the unfortunate part for the Pats was that nothing wound up sticking. Be sure to like this video, ring the notification bell, and subscribe down below if you haven't already, as it helps the channel out a lot. And be sure to check out Twitch every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern for your chance to play NFL Trivia and win cash prizes. Link in the description below. If you want to see videos like this condensed down to 60 seconds, then follow me on TikTok at JRGator9 and subscribe to 60-Second NFL History on YouTube. Also, special thanks to all of our Patreon supporters for helping out the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated, so you can become a patron and request future video topics in the description below.